Superboy number 0, written by Tom DeFalco, art by R.B. Silva. So we kind of saw Superboy from birth in his own series, so it's kind of weird to give an origin issue. So instead what they do is they split this up twofold, where they expand ever so slightly on his actual origin itself, and then they give the origin of the term Kon in Kryptonian, where all of like Kryptonian clones and whatnot. They intersperse this together. I'm just going to tell you half and half of how it works. So first story is the Kryptonian clones. And basically the way that it went is that on Krypton, they were trying to do space flight, and because the gravity was so massive on the planet, everyone was dying due to G-forces. So they made a bunch of clones so that they could just test it out on meat without it worrying. And a bunch of those were failures, but they did eventually manage to make it out of the atmosphere. But then with the cloning technology, they were like, hey, we could use this in medicine, and we can use this for labor, and we can use this for all these different reasons. So they mass-produced a whole lot of clones. However, apparently there was a flaw in the cloning process that made it so that the clones had a very poor impulse control problem, and they ended up turning on their creators very rapidly, and there was this mass revolution, all the clones turning on their creators, and there was one clone either named Kon or took the name of Kon, and he was more brutal and more merciless than anybody else, and so he ended up taking the fight to the Kryptonians, and he had some early victories, but in the end they started losing a lot. So then they thought, hey, the weather is controlled on Krypton via machines. Let's go steal those machines and turn them against our creators. And so they launched an attack on that, causing irreparable damage to Krypton's climate. They were still defeated. It didn't work. However, nobody ever found Kon's body. But when all the dust cleared, the climate was still in shambles, and it ended up being such an issue for the planet as a whole that, of course, Krypton ended up exploding not long afterwards. Also, there was something about a doomsday cult that spawned up in the meantime. They only give it one panel of notice. I don't know if it'll be important, but there it is. Also, apparently, there was an inner circle of the leadership of the clone army, and someone betrayed Kon. So yeah, that's all the clone story. Now, the whole reason that we know about this, because it is being told as a story, is that Harvest. You remember Harvest? Good old Harvest. He is talking to his first mates, I guess you would say, whatever it is. And he's basically saying hey, I found some old Kryptonian artifacts and legends and such, and this is what they said. Maybe they're true. I believe it, but regardless, I'm hoping that I can get that same thing out of this experiment. And they go through how he's been watching this guy the whole time, and he thinks that Superboy is really, truly something special, and he will become the greatest weapon for Harvest. And when they see that he's not responding, he's not waking up, they're going to shut down the whole project, but Harvest is like, oh no, let him try to shut it down. I bet he's going to explode. And then he explodes. And Caitlin Fairchild is like, oh no, Superboy, I will help train you or whatever. So then they show the whole thing where Superboy goes into VR, and they try to train him with morals and stuff like that, of trying to get him to understand that good is good and bad is bad, and not to be so apathetic to everything. But then it turns out that during those VR things, that's training for his conscious mind. In his subconscious mind, Harvest is feeding him imagery of him ruling over Krypton, and also that Superman's beating him up mercilessly, so that way it can subconsciously further his psychosis and make him truly believe that he doesn't belong, making him easier to control. And that's it. That really is. And the final page here is, it is only a matter of time before his true nature is unleashed, and whether he intends it or not, his actions will play right into my hands. Because if you remember Harvest during the culling, he literally planned for everything. He literally knew absolutely everything that was going to happen, and he was always right. And that was the most annoying part about him. And to have him show back up here is not cool. Anyway, Superboy's number 0 is fine. I guess. Like, I'm interested in the clone revolt on Krypton. That sounds interesting to me, especially because it's a direct line between that to Krypton blowing up. Like, it's good, but that's not what this book is. This book is following now with Superboy, so I'm not going to get any more of that. Honestly, this didn't really do that much. Like, yes, I like the mythology dump on, like, why Krypton blew up, but for Superboy itself, whatever. Like, he's already rejected Harvest. We've seen this arc happen. We didn't get any new information. The only thing is that, it actually is right according to Harvest's plan, to which point I say, dude, friggin' everything is part of Harvest's plan, apparently. He's literally a plan for every single thing, so I'm not surprised. So, yeah, no, it's okay. It's not offensively bad. It's just, like, whatever. So, I'd say this is a 6. I can't bring myself to care any more about it than that. Art is fine as well, but,